1 week season.
1 week season, fam, La Familia, welcome back. It is week 5, DFS, FanDuel Labs. My name is Mike Johnson, mjohnson86. Of course, coming to you once again every week on Wednesdays, going to build some FanDuel lineups. Check us out. Check out our site if you are not already a subscriber. We have our free level, we have our DFS and our Inner Circle levels of membership. In our Inner Circle membership, we do have my FanDuel leverage piece. So if you're watching this, I'm guessing that you are an avid FanDuel player or wanting to get into it. So I dig into the weeds of each week, getting ahead in FanDuel tournaments. And then I also have my FanDuel player grid that is available with the DFS and the Inner Circle subscriptions. With that said, going to bring on my esteemed co-host, Maximus. How you doing today?
Greetings. Doing good. Looking forward to digging into this week. We're recording this a little bit earlier than we usually do. I have some travel I have to do tomorrow. I'm a musician, drummer in a rock band, and so I'm going to be a temporary rock star for about a day or two, and then kind of back to normalcy. So,
there you go. Where are you traveling?
Birmingham, Alabama. It's a festival called Furnace Fest.
Okay.
Held at a historical landmark called the Sloss Furnaces. Very unique setup to hold a music festival. And allegedly it's going to be the last one they do. So I'm going to be excited to perform there and then kind of get back to it.
No pressure.
Yeah, right.
The last one. So everyone's going to remember.
Yeah.
There you go. So anyone watching in the Birmingham area, go check it out. See some high quality music. Maximus is a man of many talents. So with that, yeah, it's kind of wild. We are basically a quarter of the way through the season already. Week 4, there's obviously 18 regular season weeks. So kind of right at the quarter point here, 4.5 weeks, I guess, through the season. Yeah, you start to see some trends. This is our first week with bye weeks. Got some teams on bye. The slate is a little bit smaller too. We've got, so there's 11 on FanDuel. There are 11 games. There is 10 on DraftKings, but 11 because we have the Sunday night game, Dallas and Pittsburgh, on FanDuel. So a little bit smaller. That condenses our player pool a little bit, but yeah, I mean, obviously injuries. Rashee Rice goes down week 4. Did you have much exposure to him this week?
I definitely had some Rashee Rice. Apparently, I've been hearing there's some conflicting reports on if he's actually out for the entire year or not. That'll be interesting to see what clarity comes from that. I think later today or tonight, I heard that there may be kind of an official diagnosis as to if he's going to be just done for the season or if he's going to be on IR or not. So,
yeah, I think, I mean, even if it's not ACL, it's going to be like the only alternative with the mechanism with how he got hit, which nice play there, Mahomes. Like, what are you doing? But with how his knee absorbed it, like either the ACL goes or there's like a very deep bone bruise and he's going to be out. Like he's going to end up on IR one way or another. It's just whether or not he's able to return. If he does, I would think you're still looking at like towards the end of the regular season or potentially the postseason. So obviously changes a lot of things for them, but they do not play on the main slate this week. So we don't have to worry about it, but those injuries across the board kind of continue to stack up. And it's kind of wild because obviously you did a lot of best ball with us this year. Like usually you see the injuries stack up more at the running back position, but it's been like a murderer's row for receivers this year. So some of those guys will be coming back soon. Got Debo back this last week, but yeah, it's it's rough out there.
Yeah, if you're on drafters, best ball wise, you're probably screwed with Rashee Rice. But if you do underdog with the playoff format, maybe a glimmer of hope he comes back at the end of the year. maybe help you out at that point if you draft him.
Yeah. All right. With that, let's. I'll go ahead and pull up my screen, and we can get started building. That's what the people came for. So, what do we have here? We'll get it started. Like I said, the Sunday Million, the flagship contest on FanDuel, a little bit smaller this week. It kind of has had a little bit of overlay each week, so it kind of continuously drops a little bit. Still a $15 prize entry fee. Prize pool 1.6 million, 300K to first. What are you thinking? Obviously, we build could be put in any style tournament, but what are you thinking for starting this lineup out?
Real quick shout out to our unofficial mini sponsor, Jinx Remover. Me and Mike are both wearing the shirts today. My good friend Lowell has a screen printing company in South Florida. He makes great material and really cool designs. Google Jinx Remover. It's a perfect name for this DFS game that we play every week. And check him out. Just want to drop a really quick shout out there. As far as where I'm going, and if you're going to watch this Friday and Saturday and you're like, why are they talking about somebody who popped up on the injury report? Again, we're actually recording this on Tuesday, so we're way before the curve here of potential injury situations. But on the face of it, the core stack I'd like to start off with is a man that used to be referred to as Mr. Irrelevant, but now he is the model of consistency, Mr. Brock Purdy. The San Francisco 49ers offense, relatively condensed. I know we get Debo back full tilt this week, but with the new rules on FanDuel this year, I think Purdy is a little more of an impact to be used instead of before where you didn't have the bonuses. In this case, I'd like to pair him with Jauan Jennings, who comes in at 5,900 this week, and I think as long as C-Mac is out, that slot wide receiver spot is going to be a fruitful spot, and it seems like Jennings has established a good rapport with Purdy at this point. And then maybe one of the only places in the horrific tight end spot that's been somewhat consistent, and that would be George Kittle. Love their prices this week based on the salary that you have left over to continue to fill this particular team out. And if you're doing multiple entries, you can continue to hedge. Maybe another core stack, you put Jordan Mason on that team to kind of leverage. But in this case, Purdy, Jennings, and Kittle, on the face of it, they have the highest team total on the slate this week. And we're kind of getting to the time of year where you start looking at the Vegas numbers a little bit more with team totals, game totals. I think it starts to come a little more into play now, more information. So, yeah, I kind of like that as a beginning core. I have a couple defenses in mind that are pretty good price on FanDuel this week. But, I'll pass the baton back to you.
Yeah. It's interesting. I do think Jennings is definitely going to be – it's clear he's going to continue to be involved. They drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round. But, they re-signed Jennings. That was a choice. I think Pearsall was more of a long-term hedge with Ayuk's contract situation, with Debo coming up for a contract again in a year. But Jennings, he scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Clearly going to be involved. Without McCaffrey, they are going to go 3 wide receiver sets more often. And yeah, Debo and Kittle were both back last week, and Jennings still led them in receiving with 3 catches for 88 yards. Definitely has some big play upside. And, just when you play at that level, it becomes hard to take you off the field, right? So, I don't dislike this stack at all. Kittle says he has a rib thing. He took a shot. He just plays so hard and he's so physical. He always is getting banged up, it seems like. But he's a tough cat. The hamstring you can't really play through, but I'm not that worried about rib situation because that's usually a pain thing. And look at this dude. He's nuts, so he's going to play through it. So, yeah, I think Yeah, and you talked about the tight end position. It's been, I think that paying up makes sense just because, and I talked about that a little bit last week, how those guys can kind of separate and be like the head to have it. The salary doesn't really matter. And otherwise, obviously correlating the tight end. So you cover both those bases here. So I like that. Like you said, we're recording this early in the week. So this is kind of my first kind of run through looking at some of these stuff. Running back, I do think is important to get right just because there's going to be 5 or 6 good running back scores every week at least. So you can't really afford to have like dead spots there. So I think that's an important spot to kind of start with after we have that core stack. So I'm just kind of going through this right now. And again, this is basically my first look at it. You know what? I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs here. So Jacobs, the Packers had their first game back with Jordan Love under center this last week. Very rusty first half. Vikings came out, got up 28-0. Packers made a kind of a furious comeback, scored right before half, and then got within 1 score, but then the Vikings were able to kick a field goal to kind of separate, and then they got another touchdown at the end. But my takeaway there is the Packers offense kind of back. They're they got their mojo back. Jacobs, obviously the passing game, they fell down 28-0, so the passing game took all of the attention. But this Rams team, they just got diced up by DeAndre Swift and the Bears running game, which had been just putrid the first 3 weeks. And then Swift looked like a world beater. So maybe the Bears are a little bit back on track, but also this Rams defense, I think that they're going to have their hands full with Jordan Love. And I think the Packers are going to score a lot of points here. And I think Jacobs, he ends his TD-less, his TD drought, I guess, to start 2024. Gets in the box once or twice and maybe gets over 100 yards. So I'm guessing as I scroll through these, I'm guessing he ends up fairly popular, but I don't know that matters at running back as much as just like you got to have guys that produce. You good with him?
Yeah, it's funny you would say him. We're on the same game. My initial full build, I was on the other side of the ball. I was on Kyren Williams, who just gets all the volume for the Rams. They're in LA. And I actually had a skinny stack of Kyren with either Dontavian Wicks now that Watson's out, or, of course, Jaden Reed, who's just been a Swiss Army knife as a skinny. So I was on that game as my next spot. So we were kinetic on the game environment. But, yeah, I had plenty of Jacobs last couple weeks. I'm always down with the potential volume. There's really nobody behind them right now.
Well, let's combine our thoughts then. Let's add Wicks and let's add Kyren to it too.
Wow, well, overstack.
Well, yeah, and so here's the deal: is you think about it. So Wicks came in, Christian Watson, high ankle sprain, got rolled up on. Wicks has kind of been playing more than most fourth wide receivers. Like they're getting on him. They'd been getting him on the field 20, 30 snaps a game. Like a 30-40% snap share prior to week 4. Now that Watson's out, Wicks became like a full-time receiver, led the team in targets. And obviously before Watson went out in the second quarter, Wicks was kind of just sporadically playing, but he ended up with 13 targets, which was a 25% target share, caught 5 passes, 70 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I do think that he will be popular. He is sub 6K once again. And I think Jacobs will be popular, but I don't know that there will be that many people that play them together. And we've seen this. You look at last night, the Seahawks and Lions game, and you look at the state of the NFL. how there has been kind of limited scoring, especially the first 3 weeks, picked up a little bit this last week. But one specific spot, if the Packers score 4 or 5 touchdowns this week, Wicks and Jacobs could easily account for 3 of them, and could be the leading rusher and receiver for $13K. 45, 50 points, very much in play for those 2 guys. And then if they're doing that, we know Kyron is the kind of the lead guy. He's the engine of that offense for the Rams. And the Packers defense, Aaron Jones had a nice game this last week, didn't score a touchdown, but they gave up 28 first half points to the Vikings. It's not like they're just world beaters. Jonathan Taylor had a nice game. Saquon Barkley week 1 as the engine of the Eagles. He had a huge game. So definitely tells a story there where, this Packers Rams game kind of takes off. So I like that. Let's combine, kind of our thoughts and really build on that Packers Rams game.
Yeah, and what I also like about what you did there is the roster construction element is nobody's going to, unless you watch the show maybe, but are really going to do a construction where you have a 3-player kind of correlation like that without a quarterback. I just like the way the construction of it is because it's unique enough to where, a lot of people won't be building that way potentially. So.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right. So we've got defense, receiver, and flex left. About 6,000 left per player. Let's talk defense kind of together. And my thought is probably let's try to spend down on this roster. So see if there's anything near the bottom here that you like, that you were thinking of.
The defense I have in mind is a little bit higher than that at 4,000. The Denver Broncos at home against the Las Vegas Raiders. I'll be very curious who Patrick Surtain is going to cover with no Devontae Adams because I think Jacoby Myers operates out of the slot. But Denver's been, their defense has been just great for the most part. They're at home. They're facing Minshew without Devontae Adams. I'll be curious if Devontae Adams even plays for the Raiders the rest of the year. He may be getting traded, in my opinion. But anyway,
he could play this. I think he could play this week, though.
Oh, you think so? Okay,
yeah.
possible.
Yeah. Pierce said it depends on if he. It depends what he does in practice. So we'll see.
That hamstring injury kind of popped up suspiciously, but yeah, he very well could. So yeah, Denver defense would be my lean. Home defense, kind of in the middle of the price range. Sometimes that goes overlooked between the barbell of the higher and the lower. That would leave us a sufficient amount of salary at 7,000 left over for 2 players. But again, I'm open. I could see a case to be made for Carolina all the way at the bottom. I like Caleb Williams, but they're definitely mistake prone.
Let's split the difference here. Because I want to look at the Bears guys, consider them. Let's go with the Commanders against Deshaun Watson, Mr. Sack City. Basically, now that Will Levis may have lost his job last night to Mason Rudolph, Deshaun Watson is now the sack master for the NFL. And this Commanders defense, they looked pretty poor early in the season, but Dan Quinn, he knows what he's doing. The Commanders head coach, defensive background. They looked pretty good shutting down that Arizona offense last week. So definitely, at that cheap price point, seeing how the Browns offense and Watson in particular has been mistake prone. Amari Cooper, he had quite a day last week. He had what would have been like a 20-yard reception, hit him right in the numbers.
I know that hurt you. That hurt you.
What's that?
That hurt you. I know it did.
And then, that was one play, but then the one that really hurt was the 82-yard touchdown.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. So, right there, it's 2 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown that you would have added on. So on FanDuel, that's 20 points. and I had like 30% Amari Cooper, so that would have been nice. But I digress. Anyways, they keep making mistakes. Commanders are cheap and at home. We can move up to Denver. Let's see where it takes us. So we've got 7,300 left for the last two spots. Running back in the flex has been something that's been discussed quite a bit, obviously. I want to look at these, like I said, these Bears pieces, see what their price points are. This Bears-Carolina game, DeAndre Swift, his price back up to 6,400. DJ Moore down at 6,400. Look at the Panthers. They have, they just got torched by Joe Burrow and the Bengals. So these guys are interesting to me. Roma Dunze, only 5,600. Yeah, that's a thought there. But then this Buffalo-Houston game as well. Nico Collins, best receiver in the league so far. Interested to see what happens with Tank Dell. This is a kind of a hard one, especially early in the week, to get a handle on. But I think that game has like shootout type potential. I guess those are a couple of the thoughts where I'm thinking of going. I guess I'd also consider, if Marvin Harrison after last week, if we want to put him with these San Francisco guys. Kenneth Walker just had a huge game in price because pricing had come out before last night. He definitely looked like he is fully healthy. I guess I'll throw it to you. Where do you want to go with this next spot?
Well, I like your first instinct of DJ Moore. I'm fully down with putting DJ Moore in. And one of the reasons is that leaves the flex spot with some really good 4 o'clock players, which I like to steer the flex in the late games. You got DK Metcalf. You have Malik Neighbors as options with salary left over. James Cook, at Houston there. So I think there's some, with the salary left over, DJ Moore is a good spot there to have some variety in the flex position between at least some of those names I just mentioned, unless you're seeing somebody you prefer. But it's good salary to have left over for the flex in general. DK Metcalf against the Giants, I think could be a blow-up spot. I know we were both on Metcalf and Best Ball. I have plenty of them. Malik Neighbors is a stud. I guess we got to watch his injury status. Debo's down there, although we already have the stack of the Niners. But yeah, I'd say Metcalf, Cook, Neighbors, either one of those I'd be fine with to round out the team. But let's see what you think.
8,200 left. Let's go down to Walker, and then we can revisit. Let's see what happens if we go with Walker. We can go up from Moore. Is there anyone else that T. Higgins, Deontay,
Walker?
Just toying around with this.
Jaden Reed, although we already have our two packers.
Otherwise, we could do let's keep Moore. And then see if we can get up to, so then we could get up to the Raiders against Bo Nix and Denver, Miami or New England. Maybe that New England defense, Miami playing on a short week. Their offense just looks completely dusted without Tua, or we could go with Denver here. What do you want to do?
I like the Kenneth Walker take as well for that running back in the flex situation. If you did that, is that enough to get up to excuse me, is that enough to get up to Denver? Let me see.
Yep, that was it. Yeah, Raiders, Patriots, Denver, kind of the in that range that would make sense.
Yeah, I'd like to do Denver there. We have $300 left over. Maybe look for other options besides Moore. Terry McLaurin, we could get up to for the Commanders. in the wide receiver spot with that money left over if we didn't want to go DJ Moore there with the Broncos defense. That could be one avenue. But what's good is you have options based on what the construction was at this point. And yeah, I like, on the face of it, I love all those routes you mentioned.
And you can leave more too. And it's funny because we end up with 8 guys from the late window. It's going to be a fun writing the afternoon only piece this week. Those 4 games look pretty, a lot of options there. And then Dallas Pitt is the late game. So nice setup, actually. 6 early, 4 late, and then the Sunday night game. So it's kind of staggered nicely in that regard. So yeah, Moore will be the only early game player that you'll have. But that 300 extra, again, that just brings up opportunities if you wanted to late swap, change some things around. You know, if like I talked about that Buffalo-Houston game, I think that's the game in the early window that like you're basically like full fading that in this build. So you'll know if you need to build a certain way to try to catch up, and you can adjust. So, and we do have our afternoon only content and our late swap. Billy does a nice job with his late swap article in our scroll every week. So check that out. If you are a new subscriber, make sure you're looking at that because you can add some expected value for sure.
Absolutely. Late swap goodness. And then if you're doing multiple entries, you know, you can do the Jordan Mason route. Maybe he's pretty high priced on FanDuel, but you can do that Buffalo-Houston as a core stack. That's definitely a game to target as well this week. And then maybe kind of hedge this roster with Mason on that one. And then maybe you lean a little more 1 o'clock on another team. But yeah, no, I like the setup of this one so far, and should be interesting how all the news plays out as we get deeper into the week.
Right. Yeah. No, I think good amount of upside. I'm guessing that there's 2 or 3 guys I'm looking at that I think will be somewhat chalky, but it's also these early week builds are always interesting to me. I think that when you build like this earlier in the week before the content, before you start thinking about ownership, just build what you think is a good roster. Then later in the week, kind of revisit it and see where you're at and those spots that you find that you were on. And then it turns out they're not going to be very popular. Those often are the ones that I've found make me the most money over time. So good exercise and subs. I would recommend doing that yourselves. So yeah, that is going to do it. Yeah, week 5. We are a quarter of the way through the season. We're going to keep building. Have had some people in Discord and on Twitter hitting me up, appreciating the FanDuel content and having some nice scores there. So hopefully we can continue that this week. So do you have any parting words before we go?
Yeah, guys, definitely. Once again, love to the FanDuel Discord. You guys have been on fire the last couple of weeks. Definitely check out Mike's content. It's invaluable for this particular site. And he also has a FanDuel course. If you're a 1-week season person that you can get through the site, definitely get it. It's helped me out in my continuing journey into FanDuel play over the years. And so, yeah, man, looking forward to how this week shakes out.
Good stuff. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Check us out, oneweekseason.com. We'll be with you all week on the scroll with the NFL Edge coming out in a couple days, and then all our strategy pieces later in the week. I am Mike. He is Maximus. Thank you, and we will see you next week.